Today, in this session, we discuss matters relating to the writing skills, mainly the curriculum vitae or resume and information transfer. First, we shall discuss matters relating to the curriculum vitae. What is this curriculum vitae or CV? It sets out information about your education, work experience, special skills and personal details in a clear way. That means, whenever we apply for a job, we submit our curriculum vitae, which conveys information relating to our education, work experience, our special skills and other personal details in a clear manner. Okay? And this curriculum vitae should be clear to read and attractively presented. One should be able to read it clearly and it should be presented attractively. The curriculum vitae, the CV should be presented attractively and it should be clear to read and understand things. It shall be remembered that the person reading it may have to read mainly many other CVs, such CVs. They must be able to find the information they need quickly and easily. Even with the best qualifications and experience, you are much less likely to get an interview if your CV is poorly presented or contains errors of spelling or grammar. That means, your curriculum vitae, whatever you submit to the employers, it should be clearly presented and the information whatever you present should be understood very quickly and easily. Even with best qualifications and experience, there is every possibility for you not getting selected because of your poor presentation of the CV. If the CV is poorly presented, or if it contains errors of spelling or grammar, then it may not impress the employers and you may not be in a position to get selected. At least, you may not get chanced for the interview. So, what should we do? The CV which we present should be crystal clear and it should be free from all kinds of mistakes, either spelling or grammatical mistakes. It should be relevant also. The information whatever we furnish is to be relevant to the job being applied for. Whatever job we are applying, that should be kept in view while we furnish our CV. Extra information may give the impression that you are not committed to the particular job you are applying for. That means, if you give any extra information, వీళ్ళంతా ఎక్స్ట్రా చేసేవాడురా అనేటువంటి భావం కలుగుతుంది. కనుక ఆ భావం కలగనీయకుండా ఉండాలంటే యూ షుడ్ అవాయిడ్ గివింగ్ ఎక్స్ట్రా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. ఓన్లీ రెలెవెంట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఈస్ టు బి గివెన్, ఈస్ టు బి ఫర్నిష్డ్ ఇన్ ద CV. Only relevant information. If you give extra information, automatically it will not give good impression. And it may give impression that you are not committed to the particular job you are applying. నువ్వు ఏ జాబ్ కోసం అప్లై చేస్తున్నావో ఆ జాబ్కు సంబంధించినటువంటి రిలెవెంట్ క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్, దానికి కావలసిన కమిట్మెంట్ నీకు సరిగా లేవు అనేటువంటి భావం కలుగుతుంది. కనుక all the irrelevant information you should avoid. Only relevant information is to be furnished. That is very, very important. Traditionally, the curriculum vitae or the resume is usually a 1 or 2 page summary of a person's experience, professional qualifications and educational background. But in the modern world, it is a tool to persuade a potential employer. వెనుక మామూలుగా ఏమనుకుంటారు, ట్రెడిషనల్గా కరికులం విటే లేక రెజ్యూమే అంటే ఇట్ ఈజ్ యూజువలీ 1 or 2 pages సమ్మరీ ఆఫ్ యువర్ పర్సనల్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, వర్క్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, యువర్ క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్ అండ్ educational background. But in the modern world, it is this curriculum vitae is considered to be a tool to persuade a potential employer. ఓ చక్కని ఎంప్లాయర్ని మనము ఇంప్రెస్ చేస్తూ మన పరిజ్ఞానం ఏమిటో, మన తెలివితేటలు ఏమిటో, మనకు ఉండేటువంటి క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్, వర్క్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఇవన్నీ ఉండగా, దానికి ఉద్యోగానికి కావలసినటువంటివి ఉండగా, వాటిని ప్రజెంట్ చేయడంలో ఎంతో క్లారిటీ మనం కనబరిస్తే, ఓ వర్క్ కూడా ఇతను అంత చక్కగా కమిట్మెంట్ తోటి చేస్తాడు అనేటువంటి ఒక ఇంప్రెషన్ కలుగుతుంది ఆ CV చూడగానే. ఆ CVలో లేనిపోని అదనపు విషయాలన్నీ పెట్టినామనుకోండి. ఫర్ ఇన్స్టెన్స్, యు ఆర్ టు వర్క్ యాజ్ ఏ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఇంజనీర్. సపోజ్ యు ఆర్ క్వాలిఫైడ్ టు అప్లై ఫర్ ది జాబ్ ఆఫ్ ఏ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఇంజనీర్ ఆర్ a clerk in an office. Your achievements in games and sports and other things are of no value. అట్లాంటివన్నీ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అని పెడితే ఆ చూచే ఎంప్లాయర్కి అంత ఇంప్రెస్ కాదు. కనుక మనం కరికులం వీటిలో మనం పొందుపరచాల్సిన విషయాలు ఏమిటి? మన ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, మన క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్, ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ ఇన్ బ్రీఫ్. సో ఇవి ఇస్తూ నీవు ఎలాంటి వ్యక్తివో కూడా ఇన్ బ్రీఫ్ 1 or 2 lines చెప్పాలి. ఎందుకని? ద సేమ్ ఎంప్లాయర్ మే బి రిక్వైర్డ్ టు గో త్రూ సెవరల్ CVs ఆఫ్ దిస్ కైండ్. ఎంతోమంది అప్లై చేస్తారు ఒక పోస్ట్కి. ఒక పోస్ట్ వేకెంట్ ఉన్నది అనే అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ కనిపిస్తే దానికి 100 మంది అప్లై చేస్తారు. మరి 100 అప్లికేషన్స్, 100 CVలు చూడాలి కనుక ఎవరైతే చాలా స్పష్టంగా, సంక్షిప్తంగా మరి తమ విషయాలు తెలియజేస్తారో వాళ్ళు మాత్రమే మంచిగా ఇంప్రెస్ చేస్తారు. అనవసరపు విషయాలు పొందుపరిస్తే దానివలన వీళ్ళంతా ఎక్స్ట్రాలు చేసే వ్యక్తి అనేటువంటి భావం కలుగుతుంది. సో వాట్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఈజ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు గివ్ ద సమ్మరీ ఆఫ్ యువర్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, యువర్ ప్రొఫెషనల్ క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్ అండ్ ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్. బట్ at the same time, you should not forget that this curriculum vitae should be in a position to persuade the employer to whom you are applying. A CV or resume should contain well presented facts about previous work experience, educational background and other background information which helps prove what you say about your achievements, accomplishments and abilities. ఇంతకుముందు మనం చెప్పుకున్నట్లే మన CV మనం ఇంతకుముందు సాధించిన విషయాలు టూకీగా చెప్పాలి. మన యొక్క క్వాలిఫికేషన్, ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్, వర్క్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ అవన్నీ ఈ అప్లై చేస్తున్నటువంటి జాబ్కు ఎంతో చక్కగా సూటబుల్గా ఉన్నట్టుగా మనం అక్కడ మెన్షన్ చేయడం అవసరం. సో ఇట్ షుడ్ కంటైన్ వెల్ ప్రెజెంటెడ్ ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ అబౌట్ యువర్ ప్రీవియస్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ అండ్ అదర్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ విచ్ ప్రూవ్స్ what you say about your achievements. It should reveal that you have a positive attitude and strong interpersonal skills you bring to the organization and the edge over other candidates for the job you are applying. That means, you should be in a position to convey that you have very positive attitude towards doing the particular job, and you possess strong interpersonal skills which bring credit to the organization where you are going to work and where you are applying for the job. And you have got edge over other candidates. That means, you are better than several other candidates who are applying. So, the CV or resume should be basically very simple, it should not be elaborated, and it should be impressing the employer. The CVs are basically classified into two types depending on the arrangement of the contents. One is chronological and the second one is functional. Mainly, it should be chronological. When you are applying for the first time to an organization, it should be chronological, not functional. What is chronological? That we shall think. A chronological CV is the most common CV. It is also called reverse chronological CV. Why? Because in this type of CV, the details of employment are arranged in a reverse chronological order and showing dates. That means, the most recent job is mentioned first and the job before that as the second one, and prior to that you have to mention as the third one. Likewise, a reverse chronological CV it would be. The latest job should be mentioned first and the job before that as the second one. Likewise, when your work experience is mentioned in the reverse chronological order, it is called a chronological CV. Similarly, even in the case of educational qualifications, you have to mention the same way. The other details in the CV should be: 1. The name of the individual, address, phone numbers, qualifications, professional skills, awards and honors received, and references. So, these would be the essential things in a curriculum vitae. What are they? The name of the individual, address, phone numbers, email ID, qualifications, professional skills, professional experience, awards and honors received, if there are any such things. Then lastly, you have to mention references, 1 or 2 references. So, that way the curriculum vitae shall not be a lengthy one, since it is assumed that the employers do not have much time to go through a longish CV. A longish CV means చాలా పెద్ద పొడుగైనటువంటి CV. దాన్ని చూచి చదివేంత ఓపిక సమయము ఎంప్లాయర్స్ ఉండదు కనుక సంక్షిప్తంగా చెప్పాలి. సంక్షిప్తంగా చెబుతూ అన్నిన్ని క్లియర్ కట్గా మెన్షన్ చేయడం. Here you find an example of a chronological CV. Let us see the example. The name of the individual is 𝗪𝗏 Srinivas. His CV, address, house number and area, city name, pin code, etc. Then phone number, landline number, mobile number. email, whatever email the individual have, the individual possesses, that should be mentioned. Then objective, you have to mention the objective. What is your objective in applying for the post? What objective you have got? See, for instance, your objective in applying for the post is to have teaching career with a good school that offers opportunities for professional growth. That is number 2. Number 1, email ID, phone numbers, mobile numbers, email ID, that is number 1. Objective is number 2, aims and objectives. And then personal profile, that is number 3. How do you say about you? What do you say about you? I am a friendly person who loves working with people of all ages, and I am a hard-working team member. I always consider myself not as an individual, but an individual working with a team, working team member, hard-working team member. I consider myself as a hard-working team member. If you mention that way, it reveals that you are a social being. You don't think about yourself. It reveals that you always think about the team with whom you are working. That is the personal profile, number 3. Number 4, work experience. This work experience, the latest one should be mentioned at first, 2015 to present. Where are you working? Netaji High School, Nallakunda, Hyderabad. Aim just now taught English and Science for classes so and so, 8th, 9th and 10th. Took responsibility for conducting cultural activities. So, it reveals that you teach not only English and Science, but you also take responsibility in conducting cultural activities and organizing cultural activities. So, that way in the work experience, you have to mention what sort of individual you are, how you yourself would involve in different kinds of activities. So, that way your work experience. Next one, 2011 to 2015, Narayana High School, Badangapet, Hyderabad. There I taught English and Science for classes 9th and 10th. What else you have done there? Assisted the HM in making admissions. So, assisted the HM in making admissions is extra activity. So, this CV, if you mention like this, it reveals that you not only take care of the subjects and teaching the subjects, but also you are interested in getting yourselves involved in doing several things relating to the institution, like assisting HM in making admissions, organizing cultural activities and so on. Then all these things come under work experience, that is 4th item. 5th item, education. MSc Physics, Osmania University, 2008-10 batch. B.Ed, Government IISc Hyderabad, 7-8 batch. BSc, Nizam College, Hyderabad, 4-7 batch, 2004 to 7 batch. So, that way you have done first BSc degree during 2004-7, next you have done B.Ed at Government IISc Hyderabad during 2007 to 8, 7 and 8. 2000, in those days it was only 1 year course, B.Ed. Next, MSc Physics, Osmania University. After B.Ed, you have done MSc during 2008-10. All these things related to your educational qualifications and the institutions where you have studied and the time during which years you have studied which course. All this information should be revealed under education. You should reveal the information relating to education under this fifth point. Then special skills. What sort of special skills you have, you possess? This comes under sixth item. Knowledge of classical music, not only teaching English and science, school subjects, you have got also knowledge relating to other things like classical music, knowledge of MS Office computers and so on. These are all special skills. That means, additional skills which you possess. Then finally, you have to mention references. Here, two references are given, A. Ranganath to Srihari. Ranganath is a principal, 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏 High School. Srihari is a Deputy Director, School Education, Hyderabad. So, likewise, two references, Ranganath and Srihari. People who can tell about you. You have to give some references like that, so that if they are contacted by the employer, those people, that is those referees, should give appropriate information relating to you, so that the employer gets information relating to you and your abilities, your character and conduct, etc. Against the first point, it is necessary, it is not at all necessary to give age, gender, marital status or religion. These are all unnecessary things. నీ జెండర్ ఏమైతే ఏంటి, నీకు మ్యారేజ్ అయిందా లేదా దాంతో సంబంధం ఏమిటి, నీకు ఏ రిలీజన్ అయితే ఏంటి, వెదర్ యు ఆర్ హిందూ ఆర్ క్రిస్టియన్ ఆర్ ముస్లిం ఆర్ ఎనీ అదర్ రిలీజన్. Those things are all not required for the employer. That is why you have to give only your email ID, your phone number, landline and mobile number. That is all. It is not necessary to furnish your age, gender, marital status, religion, etc. And against the second item, your life ambition, objective. Second item is objective. Here your life ambition may have to be revealed. What is your life's ambition? To become good teacher. That is the life's ambition that you have already mentioned, and it should tell how interested you are in doing your esteemed job. ఈ టీచర్ జాబ్ ఎంత చక్కగా నువ్వు చేస్తానికి నువ్వు సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నావు అది చెప్పగలగాలి. అక్కడ ఈ ప్లేస్లో ఆ విషయం చక్కగా చెప్పాలి. That means your life's ambition and what you would like to become, how interested you are in doing your job, that you should mention. And against the third point, you have to mention specific things that you can link to your experience rather than general statements about your personality. You should not tell about yourself very much, but you have to mention your work experience. Your work experience you have to mention, that is all. So, in this section, that is number 3. Let us go back and see what you have furnished against number 3. See here, personal profile. What sort of person you are? I am a friendly person who loves working with people of all ages, and I am a hard-working team member, you said. So, against the third point, only those things are to be mentioned, very simple information about you. And then against the fourth point, work experience, what should be furnished? Against the fourth point, this section should start with the most experience, first, later make a mention of the job held prior to that, most recent experience. The most recent job you held, that should be mentioned first, and then prior to that what you have done, that you have to mention late. The second. So, in respect of each job, you should explain your main responsibilities, stressing anything that is relevant to the job you are now applying for. So, that way against the third point, you have to use phrases such as your personal skills. I have got good communicational skills. You can use phrases like this: I have got good communicational skills. I work well in a team. I am keen to take on new challenges. I remain calm under pressure. I am not affected by any work pressure. I remain calm under pressure. I understand the importance of meeting deadlines. Even if deadlines are given, you do not consider that it is a curse, but you try to understand the importance of doing things as per deadlines. So, that way you have to give your personal skills. Then you should talk about the jobs whatever you have held, the most recent one on the top. First you should mention that, and then secondly, whatever job you have done prior to that. So, that way you should explain your main responsibilities also, stressing anything that is relevant to the job you are now applying. Here you may use phrases such as, I was responsible for these things. I assisted in the aspects of so and so. I introduced new systems for so and so. I gained extensive experience of doing so and so things. I lead a team of 6 persons. I worked at a seminar level in so and so year, like that. And then against the fifth point, you have to start with your most recent qualification first. What is the most recent qualification? You have done MSc Physics towards the finally, that is the final course you have done, MSc. So, that should be mentioned first. And if you have held more than one full-time jobs, it is usual to put the work experience section before education. If you have already put up some experience, that should be mentioned first. Then you have to talk about your qualifications. ఆల్రెడీ నువ్వు జాబ్ హోల్డర్ అయ్యి వర్క్ చేస్తూ ఉన్నావు ఆ వ్యక్తివి, ఇంకొక చోట పని కోసం అప్లై చేసేటప్పుడు ఆల్రెడీ నీకు కొంత వర్క్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఉన్నది కనుక దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు మెన్షన్ ఫస్ట్. దెన్ you talk about your qualifications, educational qualifications. And if you have higher qualifications, mention those things. Then it is not necessary to give full details of lower school qualifications unless they are particularly relevant to the job applying for. So, you need not mention against the qualifications which you possess things like SSC, 10th class, intermediate, all such things, because you already possessed higher qualifications like MSc, B.Ed, M.Ed, like that. So, you are applying for a job basing on the higher qualifications which you have achieved. So, unless otherwise it is essential to mention 10th class, intermediate, etc., they need not be mentioned in general. Then against the sixth point, your special skills. Include any skills that are relevant to the job you are applying for. Try to include one or two interests to give some idea of the sort of person you are, and you may use phrases such as full clean driving license, fluent in French, voluntary literary tutor, computer literate, trained lifeguard. Likewise, you have to make use of the phrases which tell about your extra skills, whatever skills you possess. Like you have got driving license, you are also fluent in French, you are a voluntary literary tutor, computer literate, trained lifeguard, like that. These are all voluntary kind of things which you have learned in addition to the requirements needed to fulfill to hold the job. So, what you have to mention is against the sixth point, you have to mention your skills relevant to the job you are applying for. You may include one or two interests which give an idea of the sort of person you are. నువ్వు ఎలాంటి వ్యక్తివో వాళ్ళకి తెలియజేసేందుకు ఒకటి రెండు అంశాలు మాత్రమే చెప్పాలి. ఇలాంటి ఫ్రేజెస్ కూడా ఉపయోగించవచ్చు. నాకు చక్కని డ్రైవింగ్ లైసెన్స్ ఉన్నది, నాకు ఫ్లూయెంట్గా ఫ్రెంచ్ మాట్లాడేది ఉండే అవకాశం కూడా ఉన్నది. మోరోవర్ ఐఎమ్ ఏ వాలంటరీ లిటరరీ ట్యూటర్, I am also a computer literate, a trained lifeguard, like things which are related to the job you are applying for. Those things you have to mention. Against the sixth, that is the references. You have to choose references in such a way that the references, the people with whom you mention under reference, they should be in a position to say something relevant about you. నీ గురించి ఏదైనా అడిగితే చక్కగా చెప్పగలిగిన వాళ్ళ పేర్లు మాత్రమే అక్కడ మెన్షన్ చేయాలి. You should try to include at least one referee who has worked with you, preferably as your boss. నీ పై అధికారిగా నీతో పాటు పనిచేసేటువంటి ఒక వ్యక్తి, అతని పేరు ఇక్కడ రెఫరెన్స్లో పెట్టవచ్చు. బట్ ఇట్ షుడ్ బి నోన్ టు ది పర్సన్. అయ్యా నేను వేరే జాబ్కి అప్లై చేస్తాను, మిమ్మల్ని రెఫరెన్స్ కింద పెడుతున్నాను. ఇఫ్ ద ఎంప్లాయర్ ఆస్క్స్ యూ అబౌట్ మీ, ప్లీజ్ టెల్ అబౌట్ మీ వాట్ ఎవర్ యు నో అని చెప్పి ఒక మాట వాళ్ళకి చెప్పి అక్కడ వాళ్ళ పేరు పెట్టవచ్చు. పెడితే బాగుంటుంది. యూ మే ఆల్సో చూస్ వన్ పర్సనల్ రెఫరెన్స్ who can talk about your character. It's also acceptable to write references available on request. ఈ రెఫరెన్సెస్ అనేవి ముందే తెలియపరచక్కర్లేదు. ఆన్ రిక్వెస్ట్ రెఫరెన్సెస్ నేను పెడతాను, తెలియజేస్తాను అని చెప్పవచ్చు. అంటే నీ సివిలో ఈ రెఫరెన్సెస్ యొక్క ఇన్ఫర్మేషను లాస్ట్లో ఇస్తాము. అది అంతగా ముఖ్యం కాదు. అయితే అవసరమైన చోట ఉపయోగపడుతుంది ఆ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. ఎందుకు? నువ్వు ఎలాంటి వ్యక్తివి, ఏ విధంగా పనిచేస్తావు, కమిట్మెంట్తో చేస్తావా, ఆడుతూ పాడుతూ పని చేస్తావా, కమిట్మెంట్తో చేస్తావా, నీ క్యారెక్టర్ అండ్ కాండక్ట్ ఎలాంటివి, ఇవన్నీ కొత్తగా ఉద్యోగం నీకు ఇచ్చేటువంటి వ్యక్తి, ఆ ఎంప్లాయరు తెలుసుకోవాలని చూస్తారు. కనుక ఈ రెఫరెన్సెస్ మనం బాగా పరిచయస్తులు, ఒకరైతే మనతో పాటు పనిచేసి మనకు బాస్గా వ్యవహరించిన వాళ్ళ యొక్క పేరు ఇస్తే బాగుంటుంది. ఇంకొకరు ఎవరైనా కావచ్చు, నీ క్యారెక్టర్ అండ్ కాండక్ట్ గురించి చెప్పగలిగినటువంటి వాళ్ళు ఎవరైనా కావచ్చు. అట్లా you have to give at least 2 references. Now let us move on to the writing skills and information transfer. What is this information transfer? See, every human being is capable of speaking. While speaking, what does the individual do? The individual tries to translate one's own ideas, translate those ideas into language. Language consists of 2 forms. One is spoken form, second one is written form. With regard to the spoken form of language, we produce sounds to convey our ideas. Those sounds and groups of sounds will form words, phrases, sentences, and then paragraphs, etc. In the same way, if you go with writing, the ideas are conveyed in the form of symbols. That means letters and groups of letters which form words, phrases, clauses, sentences and paragraphs. So that way the writing skill itself reveals that information is transferred, ideas are transferred in the form of symbols. Here information transfer. Information can be expressed through verbal and non-verbal means. Verbal means description, that is using symbols, alphabet. So, verbal description. So, information can be expressed either through verbal description or through non-verbal diagrams. Verbal mode, non-verbal mode. Verbal mode, description mode. Non-verbal mode, diagraphic mode. The non-verbal modes are mainly 1 tables, 2 route maps, 3 graphs, 4th flow charts, 5th tree diagrams, bar charts, pie diagrams. So, that way these are all the various things through which we can transfer information. The process of changing a text from verbal to non-verbal mode and vice versa is called information transfer. So, what is information transfer? Verbal నుంచి నాన్ వెర్బల్గా ఒక డిస్క్రిప్షన్, ఒక విషయాన్ని గురించి కొన్ని పదాలు, కొన్ని వాక్యాల్లో 1 or 2 పారాగ్రాఫ్స్లో మనం విషయం తెలియజేయచ్చు. అదే విషయాన్ని నాన్ వెర్బల్ మోడ్ అంటే డయాగ్రఫిక్ మోడ్, డయాగ్రమ్స్ ద్వారా కూడా అదే విషయాన్ని మనం తెలియజేయచ్చు. అట్లా వెర్బల్ మోడ్లో ఉన్నటువంటి ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ను నాన్ వెర్బల్ మోడ్లో ఉండేటువంటి డయాగ్రమ్స్ ద్వారాను మనం వ్యక్తం చేస్తే దాన్ని ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ అంటాం. సో ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ changing information from verbal to non-verbal means or from non-verbal to verbal, that is vice versa. It is called information transfer. Changing text from verbal to non-verbal mode and vice versa is a very useful and important skill for students. And if one acquires this particular skill, it will enable the student to make notes himself or herself quickly, understand various texts effectively, and present those ideas clearly and briefly also. So, clear ga, brief ga manamu ఏదైనా విషయాన్ని వ్యక్తం చేయవలసి వచ్చినప్పుడు మనకున్నటువంటి ఈ స్కిల్ ఏ స్కిల్ అది వెర్బల్ మీన్స్ నుంచి వెర్బల్ మోడ్ నుంచి నాన్ వెర్బల్ మోడ్కి మార్చి విషయాలని వ్యక్తం చేయడం. ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్లో ఉన్న అంశాన్ని ఒక బొమ్మ రూపకంగా వ్యక్తం చేస్తే దాన్ని చాలా తేలికగా అర్థం చేసుకునే అవకాశం ఉంటుంది. సో దట్ అండ్ వైస్ వర్సా, ఒక పట్టికలో ఉండేటువంటి విషయాల్ని చక్కగా విడమర్చి ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్లో మెన్షన్ చేయడం, అండ్ దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో కాల్డ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్. వైస్ వర్సా, ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్లో ఉండే ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ని బొమ్మ రూపకంగా చెప్పడం, ఒక బొమ్మకు రూపకంగాను ఉన్నత విషయాన్ని ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్గా చెప్పడం, ఎనీథింగ్ అలాగా ఒక రూపంలో ఉన్న ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ని మరొక రూపంలో వ్యక్తం చేయడం, దానిని మనము ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ అని చెప్పుకుంటాం. See for instance an example for tables. So, there will be tables and there will be several such things. For example, a table. Given below are marks secured by 5 students in mathematics in class 10th. See here in this table, names of the individuals is furnished. Names of the individual students is furnished. Similarly, the marks are furnished against each individual. So, this table reveals how many marks each individual has got. Akash, he secured 63 marks. Gopal secured 42%. Srivalli 96%. Lucy 84%. Shirish 40%. Praveen 72%. So, here in this table, the marks obtained by each and every individual in mathematics is given, and that information you can make use of yourself anyway. ఈ ఇందులో ఉన్న సమాచారాన్ని ఏ విధంగానైనా ఉపయోగించుకోవచ్చు. ఇట్స్ ఆల్ అప్ టు యూ. బట్ the information should be furnished in this way in the form of a table, and it can represent into a paragraph. ఒక టేబుల్లో ఉన్న విషయాలను ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్లోకి పొందుపరచవచ్చు, పారాగ్రాఫ్లో ఉన్న విషయాలను టేబుల్లోకి పొందుపరచవచ్చు. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్. See, the table shows variations in the marks secured by students of class 10th in mathematics. Look, 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 has secured 96 marks, 96% out of 100. And that is the highest mark secured by the individual. And the lowest marks, Shirish and Gopal have scored very less marks in mathematics. For instance, Shirish has got 40, Gopal 42, almost nearer to each other. See, look, Lucy has got 84. This is almost double of what Shirish and Lucy obtained. So, Shirish and Lucy, see the marks. Shirish has got only 40, Lucy has got 84, almost double. Lucy has got double the marks secured by Shirish and Gopal. Gopal and Shirish got almost the same number of marks, and Lucy secured double the number of marks secured by Gopal. So, that way the information in this table says that girls seem to have done better than the boys in mathematics. See, look, the table, 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 has got first mark, Lucy has got second mark 84. That way, first and second places have gone to girls. Girls have done better than the boys in the class. An example for route map. If you wish to invite your friends to your house for a party, you will have to give them the directions to your place. How will you do it? You may give the information whether verbally or by giving a diagrammatic representation of the area through a route map. For instance, you may give information like this verbally: come to Taranaka junction, take road to the right till you come to a Y junction, take left turn and come up to Arts College. You will find a lane opposite Arts College, come a furlong in that lane and you will find my house to your right. My house is named Lakshmi Nivas. There you will find my house, you can say. Verbally, you can give information that way, or you can give a route map. You come to Taranaka junction, there you take right, you take left turn, Taranaka, then take the road to the right, road which goes right till you come to a Y junction. See, that way, that Y junction is there, and there you take again, as you come to the Y junction, you take left, reach Arts College, and there opposite to Arts College you will find a lane, and that lane if you proceed further for a furlong, you will find my house, it is named Lakshmi Nivas. That way a route map can be given. So, information can be provided either verbally or through a route map. An example for tree diagrams. There are two methods of creating a piece of sculpture. They are carving and modeling. Carving is usually done on hard materials such as stone, marble and wood. And in modeling, soft materials such as clay, plaster and wax, they are used to build different shapes, and this information can be represented in the form of a tree diagram. See, look at the tree diagram: sculpture, carving, modeling, stone, marble. These two, we have to, that material we use for carving. For modeling, clay, plaster and wax. Stone, marble and wood for carving, clay, plaster and wax for modeling. So, that way a tree diagram will give us clear information regarding the sculpture. Example for bar charts. See, the information is here. The weight of kilograms of some fruits sold one day by a local market. We can see that 52 kgs of apples and 40 kgs of oranges and 24 kgs of mangoes and 8 kgs of star fruit, 16 kgs of papayas were sold. And the same thing is represented by bar chart. Kilograms one side and the different fruits on the other side of the chart. So, and we find bars. This bar diagram itself gives the same information. Apples 52 kgs have been sold, oranges 40 kgs, mangoes 26 kgs, and then 8 kgs another fruit, star fruit, and then papaya 16 kgs. Likewise, from the chart also we can know the same information. Same information can be given in a verbal way or in a diagrammatic way. Bar graphs. Similarly, information can be furnished by means of bar graphs. For instance, amount of rice and wheat sold at a shop during January. 200 kgs of rice were sold. Amount of wheat 300 kgs. And in February, equal amount of rice and wheat were sold. The amount was 400 kgs each. And this we can mention even through bar graphs. January 200, 300. 200 rice, wheat 300 in January. February equal 400 kgs. Likewise, by means of bar graphs also we can furnish information. From verbal to non-verbal means, information can be furnished either in a verbal way or in non-verbal modes. Similarly, an example for pie diagram, and this diagram shows diesel vehicles, petrol vehicles, electric vehicles. So, more than 50% petrol vehicles, more than 25% diesel vehicles, very small percentage electric vehicles, 2%. So, the figure shows that. The same information through verbal means we can give like this: the number of petrol vehicles is more than the diesel vehicles and electric vehicles, it is more than 50%, and the number of diesel vehicles is more than 25% and less than 50%, like that. The least number of vehicles is electric vehicles. That way, we can show the information by means of a pie diagram. Example for a flow chart. Even by means of a flow chart also, we can furnish information. Suppose you have to reserve, you may have to make a reservation and reserve a train ticket. What do? You first go to the railway station, then inquire about the availability of the berths to the place where you have to go on the particular day and the choice of your train, and if the seats are available, then what do? You obtain the reservation form and fill it. Then you furnish all the information as required, like the details of train number, name, date of journey, particulars of passengers, and then afterwards you submit the application to the clerk there and pay the required amount. Take the ticket and check all the information, whether correct information is furnished in the ticket or not. That way, see that flow chart. First, inquire about the availability of berths, then take a reservation form and fill all the relevant details. Then submit the form when your turn comes, then pay the amount for the ticket. Then take the ticket from the clerk and check all the details. These are all the various steps involved in reserving a train ticket. This is the flow diagram. First what you have to do, next what, then what you have to do. Likewise, the various steps are mentioned one after the other in the train, in this flow chart. So, information can be furnished either through verbal means or non-verbal means, or vice versa. If it is given in a verbal mode, it can be transferred into a non-verbal mode. If it is already in the non-verbal mode, it can be again transferred into verbal mode. That is called information transfer. Wish you all the best.